about you, don't take no offense. ESPN is getting slammed for promoting fake stats. Promoting fake stats. ESPN is getting slammed. Here, ESPN posted this graphic when Hannah Hidalgo had a 30-point game versus another ranked team, giving her her fifth 30-point game versus a ranked team.
Look at that graphic again. At first glance, it seems straightforward. JuJu Watkins leads with 10 30-point games against ranked opponents. Caitlin Clark has 7, and Hannah Hidalgo just joined the club with 5. But there's something ESPN isn't telling you, something that completely changes what those numbers actually mean. And once you see it, you can't unsee how deliberate this manipulation really is.
Oh man, come on. This is a fake stat. This is a fake stat. And the story continued, and I'm gonna break this down. Here it says, Hannah Hidalgo joins rare company of Caitlin Clark, Paige, Bueckers after North Carolina win. It says, since Hannah started her rookie season, she has 5 30-point games against AP-ranked opponents. The other players on this list who also have 5 30-point games against AP-ranked opponents: JuJu, Watkins, Paige, Bueckers, Caitlin Clark.
ESPN posted this graphic during Notre Dame's January 11th game against North Carolina, celebrating Hannah Hidalgo's 31-point performance. 5th time she's hit 30 against a ranked opponent in her college career. Impressive, no question. But buried in the fine print at the bottom of that graphic is a timeline restriction that fundamentally distorts reality. Since 2023-2024 season, 4 little words that erase 3 years of Caitlin Clark's college career. Why would they do that? What's the purpose of arbitrarily cutting off the comparison at one specific season?
ESPN is promoting fake stats. Boom! ESPN called out for misleading Caitlin Clark graphic. Caitlin Clark fans will not appreciate this move from ESPN. What happened, KTV? Here it is. There's no question that Notre Dame star Hannah Hidalgo is a premier talent who should transition seamlessly into professional basketball as soon as she's eligible for the WNBA, which will be in 2027.
Here's what makes this particularly egregious. They're comparing complete careers for everyone, except Caitlin Clark. Hannah Hidalgo's numbers span 2.5 seasons. Paige Bueckers gets credit for 2 full seasons. JuJu Watkins is shown across her entire 2-year college run. But Caitlin Clark, only her final season at Iowa counts. Her 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, and 2022-2023 campaigns just vanish from the record. That's not a comparison. That's narrative construction disguised as statistics.
JuJu clearly has the most 30-point games against ranked opponents, and then Caitlin Clark is second, Paige is third, and Hannah Hidalgo is creeping into that mix. But here's the truth. However, it says since 2023-2024. So with that in mind, Caitlin Clark had 7 30-point games in one season. In one season. JuJu has 10 in 2 seasons. They're only counting one season of Caitlin Clark's. Why? Why aren't y'all doing the whole?
Rachel DeMetta broke this down on her podcast, and she didn't hold back. She put that ESPN graphic on screen and walked through exactly what's wrong with it. Most viewers scrolling past on social media wouldn't catch the timeline restriction. They'd see JuJu at 10, Caitlin at 7, and assume that's the complete picture. Mission accomplished for ESPN. They've positioned the current generation as equals or superiors to Clark without technically lying, just strategically omitting.
Career. Y'all doing the whole career for everybody else. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Here it says, Caitlin Clark had 7 30-point games in one season versus ranked opponents. Paige Bueckers had 5 over 2 seasons. Hannah Hidalgo had 5 over 2.5 seasons. And then JuJu had 10 over 2 seasons. Why are y'all trying to manipulate numbers and manipulate stats to try to make it seem like these other people are on Caitlin Clark's level? Why do we got?
So let's talk about what ESPN conveniently left out. Caitlin Clark's full Iowa career ran from 2020 to 2024, 4 complete seasons. And during those 4 years, she recorded 23 games with 30 or more points against AP ranked opponents. Not 7, 23. That's not close. That's not even in the same stratosphere. JuJu Watkins has 10 across 2 seasons, which is legitimately impressive, but Caitlin Clark had 23 across 4 years. She was doing this consistently, against elite competition, for twice as long as any of the other players on that graphic.
Put up the whole career, bruh. Don't try to squeeze it in so it's only one Caitlin Clark season compared to the rest of everybody else's career. Like, what are we talking about here? This is what I'm talking. This is what Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark fans are up against. These narrative painters, these goalpost movers, it never ever stops. She then added, so it's not actually the accurate graphic unless you're looking at the timeline of it. All these players have played different amounts of time in college, and it's kind of misleading. That's a fact, Rachel. That is a fact, because Caitlin Clark actually had 23 with 30 plus against AP ranked opponents during her entire career.
Think about the production meeting where this graphic got approved. Someone had to make the decision to include that since 2023-2024 qualifier. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't a default setting in their graphics software. A producer or editor specifically chose to limit the time frame in a way that diminished Caitlin Clark's actual record. And here's what's particularly telling. They didn't apply that same restriction to anyone else. If you're going to compare single seasons, compare everyone's best single season. If you're going to show career totals, show everyone's complete career, but cherry-picking the time frame to artificially compress one player's achievements while inflating others, that's not sports journalism. That's propaganda.
What is the point? What is the point in this? This is what I'm saying, man. Y'all don't appreciate the greatness, man. Y'all don't appreciate the greatness.
I can't believe ESPN used this graphic. Most 30-point games versus AP ranked opponents. So as you can see, JuJu's here, Caitlin's here, Paige is here, and Hannah Hidalgo is here. Now, if you're looking at this graphic and you're not looking at the fine details, it looks like JuJu clearly has the most 30-point games against AP ranked opponents. And then Caitlin Clark is second, Paige is third.
Let's break down what each player actually accomplished in context. Caitlin Clark averaged 5.75 30-point games against ranked opponents per season across her 4-year career. JuJu Watkins is at 5 per season through 2 years. Paige Bueckers is at 2.5 per season. Hannah Hidalgo is at 2 per season across 2.5 years. Clark wasn't just doing this at a high level, she was doing it at nearly triple the rate of most of her supposed peers. And she maintained that production across a longer time frame, which is arguably more impressive than a hot streak over 1 or 2 seasons.
Unless you're looking at the timeline of it. All of these players have played different amounts of time in college. And it's kind of misleading because Caitlin Clark actually had 23 games with 30 plus points against AP ranked opponents during her entire Iowa career, which was from 2020 to 2024. Hannah Hidalgo has a season and a half left, and JuJu has 2 more seasons left, so we'll just have to see where it goes.
But this is what I'm talking about. There was no need for y'all to do this. There was no need for y'all to do this, man. This is what Caitlin Clark fans are up against, and Caitlin Clark, man. Nasty work. ESPN got to do better. Get down.
Here's what makes this part of a larger pattern. This isn't the first time major sports media has manipulated statistics or narratives around Caitlin Clark. Throughout her final college season and her rookie WNBA year, there's been a consistent effort to either minimize her achievements or position other players as equivalent talents without the supporting evidence. Remember the Olympic roster situation? Cheryl Reeve and the selection committee left Clark off Team USA for the Paris Olympics, despite her being the most popular player in women's basketball and coming off a record-breaking college season. The explanation kept shifting. First it was about experience, then about team chemistry, then about defensive versatility, never a straight answer about why the player who just broke the NCAA scoring record and filled arenas everywhere she played wasn't deemed worthy of a roster spot. Or look at how the WNBA Players Association tried to leverage her popularity during collective bargaining negotiations, while simultaneously allowing, even encouraging, veteran players to physically target her on the court, without consequences. They wanted her drawing power for their financial benefit, but resented the attention she received. That cognitive dissonance played out in real time throughout her rookie season. The referees letting defenders get away with flagrant fouls that would have been called immediately for other players. Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, refusing to adequately address the targeting or protect the league's biggest draw. The constant narrative that Clark's fans were somehow problematic or racist for supporting her, as if enthusiasm for an exciting player is somehow suspect. And now ESPN is playing the same game with statistics. Take an objective measure, 30-point games against ranked opponents, and manipulate the parameters until the numbers tell the story you want them to tell, instead of the story they actually tell. This graphic wasn't designed to inform viewers. It was designed to shape perception, to make casual fans think Caitlin Clark's college dominance wasn't as historically significant as it actually was, to elevate current players by artificially deflating her achievement. Why does this matter beyond just sports trivia? Because it reveals how easily statistics can be weaponized when institutions have an agenda. ESPN isn't some random blogger with an axe to grind. They're the dominant force in sports media, with massive reach and credibility. When they publish a graphic, millions of people see it and assume it's accurate. Most won't read the fine print. Most won't know to question the time frame selection. They'll just absorb the visual information and move on, now believing that JuJu Watkins is significantly better against ranked opponents than Caitlin Clark was. And that false belief will influence how people discuss these players, how they vote for awards, how they evaluate greatness. It becomes part of the accepted narrative, even though it's built on deliberately misleading data presentation. Look at Hannah Hidalgo's actual situation here. She's a phenomenal player, averaging over 13 steals in some games, incredible defensive instincts, legitimate offensive talent. She deserves recognition for her 5 30-point performances against ranked teams. That's a real accomplishment worth celebrating, but ESPN didn't need to diminish Caitlin Clark to celebrate Hannah Hidalgo. They could have shown the complete career numbers and said Hidalgo is on pace to challenge Clark's record if she maintains this production. That would have been accurate and still positioned Hidalgo as an elite talent. Instead, they chose manipulation. The same goes for JuJu Watkins. 10 30-point games against ranked opponents in 2 seasons is legitimately elite production. She's one of the best college players in the country right now. But comparing her 2-year total to Caitlin Clark's single-season total creates a false equivalence that doesn't serve anyone, not Watkins, who deserves recognition based on honest comparisons, and certainly not viewers, who deserve accurate information. This is what Caitlin Clark fans have been dealing with for over a year now. Constant goalpost moving, narrative manipulation, and statistical cherry-picking designed to minimize her impact. And it's not coming from fringe sources, it's coming from ESPN, from league officials, from fellow players, from coaches. The question we should be asking is why? Why is there such resistance to simply acknowledging what Caitlin Clark accomplished? Why the need to constantly find ways to make her achievements seem less impressive? Part of it is generational jealousy. Veteran WNBA players spent years building the league with minimal recognition, and then Clark shows up and immediately commands attention they never received. That creates resentment, which is human and understandable even if it's not productive. Part of it is the media's obsession with creating new stars to replace established ones. They want the next big thing, not continued coverage of someone who's already established. So they look for ways to position current college players as equals or successors, even when the statistical reality doesn't support that narrative yet. And part of it is probably discomfort with how Clark's popularity exposed the WNBA's previous inability to connect with mainstream audience. Her success made the league's prior struggles more obvious by contrast. Instead of embracing that and building on it, there's been a defensive reaction: protect the old guard, minimize the new star, maintain control of the narrative. But here's what they're missing. Caitlin Clark's popularity was never a threat to women's basketball. It was the best thing to happen to the sport in decades. Her college games drew millions of viewers. Her WNBA debut season saw record attendance and television ratings. She brought new fans who are now invested in the league and following other players too. By trying to diminish her achievements or manipulate statistics to make her seem less dominant than she was, ESPN and others are actually undermining the sport's growth. Those new fans aren't stupid. They can see when they're being manipulated. And when they catch major media outlets playing games with numbers, it erodes trust, not just in that specific graphic, but in sports coverage generally. Rachel Dometa did the right thing by calling this out. More analysts need to hold ESPN accountable when they pull stunts like this, because if they get away with it once, they'll do it again. The next time a player achieves something historically significant, there will be another carefully crafted graphic with convenient timeline restrictions that make the achievement seem less impressive. So here's what you need to remember. Caitlin Clark had 23 30-point games against AP-ranked opponents during her Iowa career. Not 7, 23. That's the real number. That's the honest comparison. Everything else is narrative manipulation. And the next time you see a sports graphic that seems designed to make a specific point, look for the fine print. Check the timeline. Verify the parameter. Because in an era where media institutions are more interested in shaping narratives than reporting facts, your skepticism isn't cynicism. It's necessary critical thinking.